So if you don't mind me asking, like, how did that happen? First of all, let me ask you, how did you get into knives? And then I would guess that will lead into the story of how you started working at Cold Steel. So if you don't mind sharing that with us.
So uh, that's kind of like a two-part question. So how did I get into knives? Well, I was born in Texas, and my grandfather had given me a knife, and back then it was very common as a young boy to be given a knife and to have a knife and to handle a knife. And that's how I got into it, is just being introduced with a pocket knife that my grandfather gave me, and I actually still have that knife. It's this little pocket knife that's over 40 years old.
Wow.
I think it was Providence Cutlery Company. It's a company that I no longer around, but it's one of the knives that got me into the knives. And then being in Texas, it's a southwest town, and the border to Mexico was a couple hours away. And so every once in a while, I had grandparents that'd like to go down to Mexico and shop around. That was, I don't know if it's still a thing. I haven't been out there a long time, but it was the thing to go in there because these were small towns that I lived in, that my grandparents lived in. So there was no big supermarkets. There was, no place to really do that. You could go into San Antonio, or you can go into Mexico, across the border. So it was very common. And so the next knife that was in my life, that's over 40 years old, is this thing.
Wow.
So I bought this little thing, and I dug it out because, I have a collection of knives, of course. And so these two are the knives that kind of introduced me into that world. So it was knives that got me into knives, right? The fascination of them being cool in movies, in magazines, in comic books, and so forth. And then I moved around a lot, from Texas to Wisconsin, Wisconsin to Colorado, and then Colorado over to the West Coast. So kind of got out of, carrying a pocket knife for the longest time. And then where I'm going with this is how I was introduced into the knife business. And that's getting a job and position at Cold Steel Knives. Okay. And so that's how I got into the knife business. Just, being available for a position. They called it a sales position for a weapons company.
A weapons spice company. On it, huh?
What's that?
I said they put a little spice on it, huh?
They did, and I said I didn't care. I was always in sales, before that, and I was selling life insurance, and it's feast or famine when it comes down to selling life insurance. And so I wanted another position, another role, and when they said weapons company, I didn't care. And I think they did that because they wanted to make sure they wanted serious individuals to come in to interview. And I did. And this was in early 2000 when I came in and interviewed with Mr. Lynn Thompson and the controller at the time, John Nielsen, and got the job right then and there. And he asked when I could start. I said, I'll start today. I'll start right now. He said, no, why don't you come back in a week? Because this is where they're just about to close. They were on a fiscal year schedule, and they were going to close for physical inventory. So I know it was early 2000s of July that I started, and the rest is history. That's how I got into the knife business.
That's very funny. I mean, I myself have made this comment when making videos of my own, that knives are tools. But if any knife company makes weapons, it's got to be Cold Steel.
And that's in Mr. Thompson. We're a weapons company, and he didn't want to dance around it. He's one individual that he believed in something and fought for everything that he accomplished, and including, we were a weapons company. We made knives and we made tools, but the bottom line, everything that we made was a weapon. And he did a heck of a job at it, man.
Yeah.
He conquered and kicked ass and did a good job.
Yeah, nothing wrong with making a good weapon here and there, right?
That's right.